Warehouse and operations as a career, and I'm Marty T. Hawkins. Everyone having an outstanding week, I hope. I was recently asked why I've mentioned planning in the last 2 episodes. I won't go into goals and planning today, but I did urge the listener to check out our episodes on just those very topics. But I would like to mention and remind everyone that if we're not working off of a plan, a direction towards our 2019 goals, that we'll probably be making the same pay rate all year long, and quite possibly next year too. So I guess I've been told that I keep mentioning the Pallet Runner position in my ramblings, so I thought today we'd talk about that position. And as always, if you have any topic suggestions, questions, or maybe you'd like to share something with our group, simply use host@warehouseingoperationsasAcareer.com and email them to us. I'll research it, find an answer, and make sure it gets out to the group. And please be sure to join our Facebook and Twitter feeds using that little @ WHSEANDOPS. And if it's answers from your peers that you're looking for, check out the Warehouse Equipment Operators Community Group on Facebook as well. Okay, the Pallet Runner position. Many times the Pallet Runner task is our first opportunity working with equipment, or really working with an entire shift on it anyway. At a smaller facility, we may be using a walkie jack or an electric pallet jack that we walk beside, and be placing pallets from the back of the trailer, picking it up after the unloaders have got it all stacked and ready for the receiver, and we'll just be moving it to a staging area for the fork drivers to come out of the aisles and retrieve it for put away. Some of our small facilities may require us, as pallet runners, to wrap the pallets before hauling them, and for productivity reasons, we may occasionally be the unloader, pallet runner, and forklift driver. The important thing about this position is we'll be getting experience at operating a piece of powered industrial equipment. The pallet runner's responsibility is to get the pallets placed properly and in the correct areas so as not to slow down the productivity of the other tasks that's working around us. The unloaders need us to keep making them room to keep bringing stacked pallets of product out of the trailers, and the fork drivers need to get the product racked and their aisles cleared. It's going to be our responsibility to keep both of them working, all the while, of course, doing it safely. Our jobs, typically being up on the front docks, and as we've learned, that'll be the most dangerous and congested area in the warehouse. We're going to need to be watching for both equipment and pedestrian traffic. In the larger facilities, all that can be really like times 10. Imagine having 12 or more forklifts running around and maybe 80 employees on our shift. Oh, and the drivers, those over-the-road drivers. Drivers that are unloading their own trailers are dangerous to all of us, and it's not necessarily their fault. If they're not familiar with the process, it may be their first time in our building. Even if the inbound clerk or dispatcher covered the procedures with them, we'll probably need to help them out, answer some questions maybe. Pallet running at these larger facilities is going to require us to have some experience operating either a single or a double electric rider pallet jack. It's usually the next step in the chain. Say something like if we've been an unloader as an example. We'll have a little experience operating equipment. We've probably only made runs of like 50 or 60 feet at a time, but that's a good start. We'll know how to be safe, how the jack responds, and we'll be pros at operating in those tight spots. There's nothing trickier than getting stacked pallets out of the back of a trailer, across the dock plate, and staged through the maze of a full inbound dock. Okay, so we've been promoted to a pallet runner. It won't take long for us to be told by the receiver and the fork operator how to do our jobs. Our receiver will not mind telling us when we can haul a row of pallets or when he thinks that we're doing anything wrong. And then we're going to hear how, we've placed the pallet too close to the slot, or we've dropped it off too far from its bay from the fork driver. And heaven forbid we misread a tag and put it in the wrong aisle. In their defense, though, both the receiver and put-away fork driver are probably working off of some type of productivity pay or some type of incentive pay. I do believe, of course, that safety is going to be our first priority. So we're going to arrive to work early each day. We'll have our PPEs on and be at our pre-shift meeting point and be ready to work for the shift. At some point, we'll go pick up our pallet jack. It's important that we do our pre-shift inspection report. And don't just pencil whip it, ladies and gentlemen. It's so easy for those reports to just become a part of our day, but they honestly are important. I know one guy that writes down every chip of paint that's been missing or every label backing that's left on his machine each morning. He doesn't do it to be nitpicky. He says that's how he keeps it from becoming just a monotonous task. It's how he keeps it real. As I've briefly mentioned, we'll need to work closely with our receivers and forks. Besides the fact that they can make it tough for us or easy on us, we need to meet our productivity numbers too. At these larger houses, we may have to scan, our product, our pickups and our drop-offs, meaning we'll have either a handheld or a wrist mount scanner with us. We'll scan the pallet when we pick it up from the dock, and we'll confirm its position when we've dropped it off. Some systems will even instruct us exactly where they want it dropped. The systems are designed to verify security of the product and its flow throughout the receiving process and can be used to produce metrics and productivity reports. I've actually seen pay systems based solely on the number of pallets moved, like a payout per pallet. But usually you'll see a base rate with an incentive, maybe an additional amount paid over a certain number of hauls. All of this sounds pretty simple, but I assure you the pallet runner position can be stressful at times. You'll have the unloaders wanting more room. They'll be yelling for you to get a row of pallets cleared all the while that the receiver's holding you up. Maybe they're behind tagging or receiving a row, and then the fork driver's upset with us because he or she is caught up to us and they don't have any freight to move, meaning that they're losing money, by being still. And even when everything's going right and the dock flow is perfect, we can find we're being held up with all the traffic that's on the docks. People and drivers don't seem to always care where they're walking. It's almost like they don't know what those yellow lines are for. Okay, so in summary, we could say the Pallet Runner is really a great next step. It'll be rare, at least at our larger facilities, that we're moved right into the task unless we have quite a bit of experience on the equipment. I think it's the perfect step in our plan to learn everything about warehousing. We'll be working closely with or next to several other tasks like unloading, receiving, and the put-away process, possibly even inventory control, and maybe even the check-in or the clerk position. Here's a real quick story. I know a gentleman that's been running pallets for 12 years. He once moved into the returns department, was doing a great job there, but his old supervisor wanted him back. Somehow he convinced him to come back to his department and work for him again. A few years later, he was moved to the forklift, a really good put-away position. Well, another supervisor again talked him into returning and running pallets for him. I know all three of these supervisors and asked once, jokingly of course, how come they didn't let David move on? The answer was simply that he'd figured out pallet running. He strategically worked the docks for him, planned ahead, knew the product and where everything was slotted, which increased his productivity, and because he worked so well with the fork drivers, their productivity improved as well. They all kind of considered him a professional pallet runner. Well, I ran into David about 3 or 4 months ago, and I've known him for about 15 years now, and asked him why he loved running pallets so much. His reply was, "I love operating the double jack. I'm good at it, and I can help the receivers, unloaders, and forks work easier and better. It's good for the company all the way around." Now, knowing David like I do, he's a very good lift operator. Shoot, being with the same company for about 17 years now, he can lend a hand with most all the positions, but always goes back to running pallets. Here at WAOC, we always talk about enjoying our job and how every task in operations can be that career to retire from. I think David is living proof of that. Well, there's a few thoughts on the pallet runner or dock runner position. Whether our plan is to use it to garner some equipment experience or make it a full-time job, I think it's a great task and is worthy of being a part of our overall plan to reach our goals. I hope to see you on our Facebook and Twitter feeds this week. And be sure to give us a shout out in the Warehouse Equipment Operators community group this week. Be safe, make it your #1 priority so we can get back together again next week.